a bird or a kosher wild animal, not a domesticated animal like a deer, and you slaughter it, you have to cover the blood. The Torah teaches, goes out of its way, and it says it connects the slaughtering to the covering. V'shafach v'chisa, and the Gemara says we learn from there that the way you slaughter is the way you cover it, and you can't cover it with your foot. You can't kick the dirt on it. And the Gemara says because the mitzvos should not be cheap in your eyes. You know, the mitzvot should not be done in a disrespectful, Morning Nathan, Boker Tov. The mitzvot should not be done in a in a not respectful way. Morning Simon. So we said yesterday about the covering of the blood. The Gemara says you have to cover it in a respectful way. And if you use your foot to cover it, that's not respectful. And then we asked the question. Tosfos asked the question, "What do you mean? We have a different teaching, a different reason why you can't use." And then the Gemara says, based on that law of you can't cover the blood with your foot, that is the source of the law for sukkah. That is the source that you can't use the decorations from Moni Simon Nathan for personal use because it's not respectful for the mitzvah. You can't count your money at the light of the menorah because it's not respectful. It's degrading. It's cheapening the mitzvah of the menorah. But we said there's another pasuk. We said there's another pasuk that teaches us this law. There's another pasuk that teaches us the law from the pasuk that teaches us that you can't the mitzvah, something designated for mitzvah, you can't use for personal use, right? So is it because I'm cheapening the mitzvah? I'm not treating the mitzvah with respect. Is the reason why I can't use the esrog for personal use, the decorations for personal use, or is it because of the reason of I designated for the mitzvah? So that is the question that we had yesterday, right? So I saw a couple of answers I wanted to say. Um, so one answer, okay, I'm having trouble finding the answers today. Okay, meanwhile, we'll hold off on some of the answers, but we're going to repeat the question again. Tomorrow, I'll identify exactly some of the answers that are given for this question. So we're starting the Gemara today on 22a, towards the bottom of the page. Yosef Yativ Ahum Rabbana Kamed Rav Ada Bar Ava V'Yativ V'Kom Matayim Rav. Right, we had the question of Madlikim Miner Lener or A Madlikim Miner. Can you take the light of one, you light the menorah? Can you light from one light of the menorah to light the other light of the menorah? That is the question we had yesterday. We brought a machloket, we brought an argument between Rav and Shmuel. Rav was more strict. Rav says, Rav says you cannot light from one ner of the menorah to another ner of the menorah. And Shmuel says, Shmuel says you can light from one light of the menorah to another light of the menorah. So now the Gemara is going to elaborate now on the machlokas. We're on 22a3, top of the page of 22a3. So the Gemara says the following. You hear the question, Adam, and Adam and Simon, just to bring you up to date. The question, can I light from one light of the menorah to light the other light of the menorah? Can I use one light to use the other light? So that's the question. So the Gemara says, Yotav hu merabona kamed Rav Ad Rav, Yotav v'kama time with Rav mishum bizu mitzvah, because it's denigrating. It's not respectful for the mitzvah. Why is it not respectful for the mitzvah? Because how would I light from one light to the second light? I would take a twig and light the twig from one light of the menorah, and then light the second light of the menorah from using that twig. But the twig that I'm using is not a mitzvah. The twig itself, I want it. Right. So I am using the twig to help light the second light, but the fact is that that twig is not from the mitzvah. So I'm using something that's not mitzvah and lighting it from mitzvah. So he holds that's not respectful.
But you hold the same way about candle without twig in between.
Oh, so that's very good. So that's what the Gemara, again, that's according to this reasoning, you'd be able to go from candle to candle. If the wick A would be very long, and if you could extend the wick and reach to the next wick, to the adjacent wick, according to this reason, you should be able to go ahead and light, because it's not called this. It's not taking from non-mitzvah from mitzvah. They're both mitzvah, as Nathan says, right? But it's just good morning, Mark.
Morning, Rabbi.
Good morning. Welcome back.
Thank you. You got a new Zoom link or something? That was no good?
Yeah. The other one it's a new link, correct.
They should change it on the header. If you're going to keep it.
Right. Okay. I'm going to ask, Adam's going to send it to the.
No, on the top of the header, they have it. I'll explain to him when I see him.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Mark. So we're discussing, Mark, just to bring Mark up to date, the amazing sensitivity, the discussion of, how, the respect we have to have for mitzvot, the way you do a mitzvah. And we have a discussion here. Can I light from one light of the menorah? Can I use the light of one menorah to light another light of the menorah? That is the discussion of the Gemara. And one opinion understands that I can't do it, morning Asaf, because if I'm going to light the second light, how I'm going to light the second light using a twig from the first light, and I'm going to light the twig, and then I'm going to light the second light. And being that the twig is not mitzvah, so it's not respect that you go ahead and you light something which is not mitzvah from mitzvah, even though the purpose is for the purpose of mitzvah. So the other opinion says, Shmuel says, no, it's no problem. Why not? But it's not, he doesn't call it disrespectful, because you are doing it, as Nathan says, as hechsher mitzvah. I am lighting the twig for the purpose of lighting the other light. So even though I'm lighting the twig, which is at this moment non-mitzvah, from a light of the menorah, which is mitzvah, but he holds it's not considered, I'm not doing it for personal use, right? I'm doing it for the purpose of mitzvah. So he says so one says it's a problem, and the other rabbi says it's not a problem, right? So that was one approach in the dispute. And so that was there was one of the rabbis was sitting in front of Rav Ada bar Abba, but it's amazing sensitivity, right? You see the details. I just want to take a light from this menorah. I want to light the wick from this menorah. He says it's no good, and one says it is good. And so he was sitting, and he was sitting and he was saying, time of the Rav Mishum Bizui Mitzvah. The reason of Rav was probably Rav needs explanation. He's the chidush, was probably that he's the one who's saying you can't do it, right? He didn't give a reason why. Rav says you can't light from one light to another light. He didn't explain himself. So it's open for interpretation. So one rabbi says it's disrespect for the mitzvah, because you're lighting a twig which is not mitzvah from mitzvah. Comes Amaluhu. Rav Ada bar Abba says, no, don't listen to him. That's not the reason for Rav. Time of the Rav, Mishum dekom machish mitzvah. You are lessening, you're decreasing. How is it? It appears that when you take a light from the menorah, from one light to the other light, it looks like you're taking away. You're taking away the light, and you're taking some of its oil away from the first. By lighting something else, you're taking out some of its fuel. And it looks like, and I'll read the language of Rashi, it looks like you're taking the light and drawing a little bit of its moistness of its oil. So it looks like you're taking away from light number one, he's taking away some of its fuel to use for light number two. And that's not acceptable. That's how it looks like you're decreasing the mitzvah.
So they have the same argument in the Torah. They talk about Moshe training the other 50 or 70 judges, and the punchline was, you're not taking away from the first, you're just illuminating and initiating 70 more.
We have to see exactly more about what is. Meaning you're saying, because it's not that Moshe is Nathan is Moshe, not that Moshe is diminished by placing all the judges. It's just that they're more just an extension of him in a certain sense. So, but there was still a criticism of the Jewish people, because it's still better. There is a concept. It's still better to hear directly from the great rabbi. Right. Okay. So the Gemara says there is a difference. There is a difference. Nathan already touched. What would be the difference between one of the two opinions? What about if I am not using the kamadak mishraga l'shraga? I extend the wick. I'm not using a twig to light the second light by taking a twig, lighting it from the first light, and then taking that twig and moving it and lighting up the second light. Rather, I extend light number one and I extend the wick to light number two. So what would be over there? So if you hold the reason is because you're not respectful for the mitzvah, because you are lighting a twig, which is not mitzvah for mitzvah. You're not using a twig. I'm using the light itself. So therefore, Rav would hold I could light from one wick to the other wick, according to that reasoning. But if you hold the reason is because you're diminishing from the mitzvah, because it looks like you're drawing away from the oil of the first lamp, so therefore Rav would say that also would apply even from wick to wick. So that is the discussion here in the Gemara. So the Gemara says, if the one who says because it's not respect for the mitzvah, because you're lighting something that's not mitzvah for mitzvah, here from candle to candle you could light, from wick to wick you could light, because I'm not lighting a item that's not mitzvah for mitzvah. But the one who says because you're taking away from the mitzvah, so using one wick to the other wick would also be forbidden. Okay. Moshe Rav Avia. Rav Avia asked the following question. Now, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch regarding this question of light to light, so Arachayim Simon Tov Reish Ayin Dalid, Tif Dalid, it says, it says in Shulchan Aruch, Madlikin, you can light from Ner Chanukah to Ner Chanukah. You can light one Ner to another Ner, but not directly, one wick to the other wick. But you can't go ahead. The first opinion Shulchan Aruch says, but using a twig, meaning if from light number one, if I would take a twig and light from the menorah the twig and light another menorah candle, that would be forbidden. And then he brings a second opinion that would accept the Yesh Matirim. And the first opinion is because of it's that not respectful for the mitzvah. V'yesh matirim gam bezeh, and there are those that allow even that to use the twig to light from one wick to the other wick. Now,
A lot of time on the green, man. Later.
now,
Leave this here.
you see the Shulchan Aruch says.
What? Leave it here.
Shulchan Aruch says that
I need to pick this
Ashkenaz
up later.
Ramos says we're nohig to be strict in the Ner Chanukah to not to light even from one wick to another wick. Why? Because the main mitzvah is only one candle, right? Technically, you only need to have one candle every night to fill the mitzvah. So the second candle is beautification of the mitzvah, but it's not it's not the essence of the mitzvah, and therefore you can't light from one to the other, and that's only right. Therefore, that's would be the Ashkenaz opinion. Therefore, we always use the shamash, right? If let's say if you want to light, if one of the candles went out, right, and you want to relight that candle, you will not use the light of the menorah to light the candle to light up. You always use a separate match, something else. You don't light the morning. According to this, we would not light, and we would not use the light of a menorah to light the shamash. Right? You don't take the light of if you want to light it. Let's say one person lit in a house. Let's say a house that has multiple menorot. So you don't use the light of the menorah to always use the light of the shamash to light the menorah. So if the shamash comes out, we will not. We should. You have to light a new match. You should not use the light of the menorah to light the shamash. That's what comes out. That should be that would be the way to go. Okay. So now let's get to the bottom of the page. We are on 22a, bottom of the page. Motiv Rav Avia. So Rav Avia asked the following question. Sela, this is going to be a question on Rav's opinion on one of the explanations of Rav. Sela Shamai Sheni. We're now on 22b1. Or 22, right. The Sela Maisa Sheni. You have the coin of a Sela of Maisa Sheni that what happened was you had fruit, the produce that you need to bring to Yerushalayim. The first year and the second year and the fourth and the fifth year of the cycle, 10% goes, every year of the 6 years, 10% go to Nathan. The Levi gets 10% every year. But then there's something called Ma'aser Rishon. That's the first. You give Truma to the Kohen. After you give Truma to the Kohen, the first 10%, Ma'aser Rishon, goes to the Levian. Then after you give to the Levian, what do we got? Ma'aser Sheni. Another 10% from what was remaining, and that you take to Yerushalayim, and you eat in Yerushalayim. You eat in Jerusalem. But let's say it's too hard for you to carry to Jerusalem. You live in Haifa, or you live far away. So what do? You go ahead and you redeem it onto coins, and then you bring the coins to Jerusalem, and then you take the coins and you spend it, and you buy the produce in Jerusalem and eat in Jerusalem. So now I have a coin that I already redeemed the Ma'aser Sheni on this coin. So coin number one. Now this coin is designated. It has holiness to it, meaning it's used. It's used for. It needs to be used for Ma'aser Sheni because I redeemed onto it. Now I want to go ahead and I want to weigh it weigh other coins on it. Let's say I want to weigh dinrei zahav, different coins. I want to see that it equals that these dinarim, put it on a scale. Can I use it as a weight for a scale because I want to know that this that they right. So it's right. Right. So now I'm not taking now. You said the word diminishing, but diminishing could have two translations. Diminishing because you're not being respectful. Diminishing it's honor, but diminishing is because you're actually removing some of the taking away from it. Like the oil, when you take oil from candle number one, you're actually diminishing the if you light when you light candle number two from candle number one, even directly from candle number one, there's an appearance that you're diminishing removing some of the actual money miles, right? So that was the appearance. So here I'm not diminishing anything, but it might be a lack. Right. So what we're going to say, this is disrespectful. So it says you can't weigh um, other coins opposite it, even for the purpose afilu lechalel alav masasheni acher. Even if I want to go ahead and the purpose of these coins that I want to go ahead and weigh next to these coins to figure out, even if it's for the purpose of my sasheni, because I want to use these other coins, I want to have a certain value of the other coins, certain weight of the other coins to redeem other my sasheni on that, I can't do that. That's what the Gemara says.
Many years ago, Rabbi Kowalski said you can't use your siddur to go and touch the Torah. He said you're using it as a hand extender. So even though you think you're doing something very holy, you're not touching the Torah with your hand, whatever. You can't use your siddur, which is of a higher level of holiness, as a mere hand extender. It's inappropriate.
It's not respectful
Not
for.
respectful.
What about using the tzitzit?
That apparently was fine.
Just to bring Miles up to date, we're discussing here why there's an opinion that says you can't use the light of one menorah to light another candle. So now we're trying to explain that. And we said there's two reasons given for it, and now we're trying to figure out which is the correct reason. So now the Gemara says like this. If we say that Rav and Shmuel argue by the case of the direct case, meaning the direct case is going from candle from one wick to another wick without any twig in between. If we say that's the case of argument, so if that's the case of the argument, would mean to say that everybody would agree that if you use a twig to light the other one, everybody would agree that it's no good, right? If we say that Rav says that even if you're using the wick itself of candle number one to light candle wick number two, I'm not using a non-mitzvah twig to light to be lit from candle light from wick number one, and then take that non-mitzvah wick and light number two. I'm not doing that. Because that everybody would agree is not respectful, right? So if we say that's the case, that the argument of the two rabbis of the rabbis is specifically when I'm not using the twig, which is a non-mitzvah, to light from a mitzvah, I'm using the direct wick itself. Of a bekinsa, but kinsa also Shmuel. But if I use a twig, Shmuel would agree I can't use something non-mitzvah. Then holo havitiyufta. This would not be a knockout. Now look at the Rashi. You have the Rashi. Yama b'shalom kiplig ram Shmuel me'ner l'ner. 2 lines from the top. Maybe give Mark a copy. If so, Rashi said like this, mamash. If it's going directly from Simon, it's 22b. If you want, unless you want to do it by heart, like Nathan. 22b towards the top of the page, second line from the top. They argue from light to light, mamash, and you're not using a twig in between. And Shmuel allows you in the case when you're not using a twig in between, you're going directly from one light to the other light. The Shmuel is not concerned. He's not concerned that it looks like you're diminishing the oil by lighting directly from one to the other. But kinsa, when you use a twig to light from one, to light the twig from candle number one, and then to light number two, the bizahu, that's not respectful. Like then moda holo havet yufta. This law of Ma'aser Sheni, of not weighing coins opposite these coins, will not be a question. Why not? Here's beautiful. Rashi explains. The hanech dinorim dechulin. If these coins that are non-consecrated yet, I plan on consecrating these coins. I want to use these coins for Ma'aser Sheni coins. I'm getting it. They're in the batter's box, but they're not yet. They're not in the game yet.
Elevate those points, the candle, the second unlit candle was already designated.
Or candle number one is already mitzvah. That's already lighting mitzvah. It's mitzvah to mitzvah. But when I have coins, Ma'aser Sheni coins, these are holy coins, and I put coins here that I want to use for holiness. Even if I want to use these coins for holiness, but at this moment, are they holy enough? They're in the batter's box. They're not there yet. So even though I want to say I want to use it, but until it's consecrated, it's not mitzvah. So therefore, I can't weigh non-holy coins using the holy coins as a weight, and I want to see if they're equal the non-holy coins to this because I want to plan on using it. That's called not respectful for mitzvah because it's not yet. This is mitzvah, and you're using mitzvah and you're using something which is not mitzvah to use this as a weight for something which is not mitzvah. No, but I'm lighting. I
could theoretically use different candle, not use that candle.
Right, but
Right? It's not going to be.
right, but the second when I'm using this, when I use this, it's simultaneously it's mitzvah.
The moment you light it,
The mitzvah.
which is the equivalent of the weighing, you immediately converted it into mitzvah. But in the case of coins, they're not yet even have to be weighed. None of that. But I have a different question about. Let's say you have your one coin that's already Ma'aser Sheni. You have three smaller coins. You've already designated them also Ma'aser Sheni. You exchange the produce. Now you want to do weighing to see if these three equal that one, but they're all four of those coins
A mitzvah.
are all Ma'aser Sheni. No problem.
That should be no problem. Because you're not diminishing. You're not taking, meaning even the opinion that says that you can't light one candle from another candle is only directly, it's only because it has an appearance, you're diminishing the mitzvah. But coins next to each other, you're not taking, I mean, like it looks like you're taking oil from one mitzvah. Here you're not taking anything away. So that's what Rashi says. You continue the Rashi, the hanech dinom dechul lav gufayo mitzvah. They're not mitzvah. They itself are not mitzvah, even though you need it for mitzvah, but they're comparable to a kinsah. They're comparable to the twig, like Maz was saying, until it happens. But if you say that Shmuel holds that even a twig you could go ahead and use to light a twig from candle number one, I'm going to light this twig for the purpose of lighting number two. And what will be the reason, according to that, is because it's a hechsher mitzvah It's Seirich mitzvah, Nathan, that Rashi uses the terminology, because I'm using the twig for the purpose of it. It's not called disrespectful for the mitzvah. So then if that's the case, I should be able to weigh the coins against the other coins, the Maisasheni coins against other coins that I plan on using for mitzvah. The same way I could light the twig from light number one because I want to use a twig to light a candle light number two. I should be able to use, according to Rav, according to the opinion of that understands Rav, according to the opinion that understands Shmuel, that Shmuel would even allow the lighting of the twig, because Shmuel would hold, morning David, that's not called disrespectful. So then what's the problem with the Ma'aser Sheni? Why can't I weigh the Ma'aser Sheni coins over here? And the other coins that I want to use here, David, the Gemara says I can't take holy coins that are consecrated for use for Ma'aser Sheni, and I can't weigh other coins to see if it has the same weight, even if I plan on using the other coins for mitzvah, because at this point they're not yet mitzvah, and I can't use it. So the Gemara said, what's the problem? According to that opinion that says I could actually light a twig from light number one of a menorah, because I plan on using this light for lighting number two, the light number two, so I should be able to weigh the coins as well, because I'm planning on using the coins for mitzvah. That is the Gemara's question on that opinion. Is that clear? That's the Gemara's question. Let's read it in the inside. If now back to the Gemara, 3 lines from the top. When is there an argument, Rav Shmuel, of lighting one light to the other light? If it's miner l'ner, if it's directly from one light to the other light, that's where there is an argument. If that's the case, of a bekinsa, but if you use a twig, asa Shmuel, then Shmuel would even agree that you can't use a twig. Point to that approach, halo have it to yufta. So the case of the story of the Ma'aser Sheni coins would not be a refutation of Shmuel's opinion, because Shmuel will say, but this is like a case, the coins are similar to the twig. But just like the twig itself is not mitzvah, I can't light the twig from, according to that opinion, from light number one to light the twig in order to light number two, because the twig is not yet mitzvah. It's not mitzvah. It's a twig. It's not a part of the menorah. I can't use the twig to light from light number one. So too, I should not be able to weigh the coins that are not mitzvah yet from coins that are mitzvah. But with me, Mark. But if you hold that Shmuel will even allow you to take a twig, which is not mitzvah, it's a twig, not mundane twig, and I'm not using the twig is not going to turn into a mitzvah light. But if Shmuel has, according to him, says I could take a twig and light the twig from the light of the menorah. I could take the light of the menorah to light the twig, and then take that twig and light number two. According to that opinion, if that's allowed, according to one understanding of Shmuel, there's 2 understanding of Shmuel. When Shmuel gives his allowance that you could light from one light to another light, does he mean only if it's directly from one light? If I extend the wick to the other light, or I could even take a twig and use that twig to light from light number one, and then light the twig from light number one, and then take that twig and light number two. So according to that approach that says I could take the twig, so then to light the twig from light number one, and then take that twig and light number two, so why shouldn't I be able to weigh the coins of non-holy coins? There is a question, when do they both agree? According to one approach, everybody would agree you can't use the twig. You would have to either you have to strike it from not using the light of the menorah, or everybody. That's one opinion. And then there's another approach but if everyone agrees you can't use a twig, so they're arguing without even using a twig. Meaning that approach holds that the argument is, even if I'm not using a twig, even if I'm using light number one and I'm extending the wick, I'm moving the wick, and I'm lighting light number two, there's an opinion that says that Rav would say, I can't even do that. Why not? It's mitzvah to mitzvah. So, because there's something unique about menorah. So, by the way, it would seem from this Gemara that using one mitzvah for another mitzvah would be good, except menorah is unique. What's unique about menorah? If you take light number one and you light number two from light number one directly, it appears you're drawing some of its oil, taking away some oil from number one, right? When you light two, like you're absorbing some of the oil. Absorbing some of the oil is diminishing light number one. You're taking away, you're diminishing, actual diminishing. So there the Gemara has an opinion that says that maybe that's why Rav would say it's not allowed. Because it looks like you're taking, you can't do something that looks like you're taking away from a mitzvah. You know, it's a mitzvah, something that's you know, even though you're using it for another mitzvah. But in the way, it wouldn't be, nothing's getting in the way. Because if I pointed that, if I would weigh the coins, that should not be a problem. But again, the coins have its own situation. Because coins are not the second set of coins. It's not mitzvah to mitzvah by the coin. Because the coins, not yet, I'm just weighing it for the purpose of mitzvah. I want to use the second set of coins. You know, we know about coins for Pidyon Haben, right? Pidyon Haben coins. But here I want to use the second set of coins for future Ma'aser Sheni. And it's not yet mitzvah yet. So therefore, it would be considered a problem, a coin.
You're saying it's a risk, it's not necessary for mitzvah, like quick.
I mean, at this point, even though I plan on using it for the mitzvah, but at the moment it's not mitzvah.
Well, it's not a necessity yet. Like there's still risk that it may not become.
See, that's what the Gemara is going to answer later on what you're saying. But at this point, the Gemara is emphasizing the point that even though I want to use it for the purpose, future purpose of Ma'aser Sheni, but I can't do that because it's non-mitzvah. And the Gemara wants to compare it to the wick, that the wick is not, that the twig is not mitzvah. Stay tuned tomorrow to see the finish. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you, Davis, for joining.